Welcome. Now, the federal government's tax reform bills is still a subject of debate in the country, with, of course, controversy and arguments here and there over its implementation. However, the Nigerian Senate has reaffirmed its commitment to advancing the bills, stressing that no aspect of the legislative process has been suspended or withdrawn. Don't forget, there had been report that the Senate had actually stayed action on the bill, but now the Senate has come out to say that is not the case. Senate President Godswill Akpabio assured that the upper chamber remains focused on its mandate to represent Nigerians' interests and will not be intimidated by external pressures. Akpabio therefore dismissed reports in the media suggesting that deliberations on the bill have been suspended or withdrawn. Take a listen to what he said.
As far as we are concerned, the tax reform bills are alive in this hollow chamber. They are receiving consideration at various levels, and we are open to discussions, to negotiations, to interface. But let it not be said anywhere that we suspended further consideration of these bills. And also, it would be laughable for anybody to also think or say or report that the bills were withdrawn. Because, like I said, there are executive bills that can only be withdrawn by the executive. And there's no reason to do so. Because these bills, we believe, are in overriding public interest, and will do everything possible to ensure that across geopolitical interests, across, political parties, across every religious interest, everybody that has concern, civil society, everybody that has concern is given a chance to contribute to the passage of these laws.
You can't imagine what it means for businesses that earn less than 50 million not to pay tax. You can't imagine what it means for multiplicity of taxes to be abrogated. You can't imagine what it means for people who earn less than the minimum wage or even minimum wage not to pay tax. So the exemptions are such that up to 100 million Nigerians will benefit from these tax reform bills. So let's not listen to social media. Let's not listen to Arise television. And I hope they are well guided with the explanation of the Senate leader.
Well, the Senate President explained that public hearings and consultations with stakeholders, including governors, religious leaders, and business leaders, are imperative to resolve any uncertainties with the bills. Earlier, the Senate had constituted a special committee to review contentious areas in the proposed controversial tax reform bills and is expected to revert to the Committee of the Whole. Now, let's discuss all of this further. I'm now being joined on the program by economist Dr. Akin Ogunshola, who joins us from Abuja. Also here in the studio is public affairs analyst Nelson Ekujimi. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Akin. Give me your take on this raging controversy over the bill. The bills now.
All right, thank you for having me. The tax reform bill is actually a very good initiative by the president. We know that revenue has actually been a problem in Nigeria, and successive governments have, battled with generating revenue. But this government has come up with the idea of, reforming the tax. In fact, as a matter of fact, is a total restructuring on value-added tax in Nigeria. And though some, quarters of the populace have argued whether it was favorable to them or is not favorable to them, whether it's favorable to the economy or not. But in overall, I think it's actually favorable to the country, just for some, little skirmishes of clarifications that need to be done. And that's why the consultation is actually ongoing, and extensive consultation will still continue to go on, so that everybody will be on the same page in order to understand the roadmap that Nigeria is about to follow through for this tax reform bill.
Now, let's quickly look at the slides, just to get a proper understanding of this, so that our audience too can understand what the contention is. Now, at issue here, let's not forget there are 4 bills here we're talking about. And you look at the entire bills, quite impressive, no doubt, and people have applauded them. And when you look at the benefits, in fact, some have listed about 15 or more than 15 benefits now that could accrue from this bill. But the area of contention has been the issue of VAT, that's a value-added tax. So with this slide now, let's try to understand it. You look at the current VAT allocation as we have it in the Constitution today. 15% goes to the federal government. State governments now and the FCT get 50%, and then local government get, the local governments now, that's the 774 local governments in the country, share 35%. Now, that's just the broad allocation. That's just the way the VAT is allocated now. But when you come to look at what the Oyedele Committee is proposing now in terms of allocation. So for the federal government, it's going to come down to 10%. State governments will get 55%, and then local government still remains at 35%. Now, there's no problem with this. Now, let's go to the part where the contention is, and that's in the way the money is shared. This is the current VAT revenue sharing formula. Derivation, that is where you have remittance now. That is, the remittance is done in such a way that states now where some of these companies have their headquarters, that's where the remittance actually goes to. So 20% now for remittance. Equality of states is 50%. Population is 30%. This is a current VAT revenue sharing formula. But let's look at what the Oyedele Committee is proposing now. Derivation will now go to 60%, and this time it's not going to be based on remittance, but they say it's going to be based on consumption. Equality of states is 20% and population is 20%. So this is where the controversy is. And let me come to you, Akin. Looking at that slide, if we could have that slide back now. Looking at that slide, help us to understand why we're having this controversy at this moment over this VAT revenue sharing formula.
Yeah, I think where the controversy is coming from is because people are looking at it from remittance angle rather than looking at it from consumption angle. And I think Oyedele Taiwo has made it very clear in some of his consultations and town hall meetings that the VAT sharing is going to be based on consumption, where the service or goods that are VATable are consumed. That is where the revenue will actually go to. So the fear, based on even what you said, was that this VAT share will go to the headquarters of where the company or the business is actually residing. I think that's not going to be so, because it's going to be calculated based on where the service or goods was actually consumed from. For example, take MTN, which is a very big telecommunication company in Nigeria. People make calls and load recharge cards all over the states in the country. Now, it's not going to be based on that because MTN is residing in Lagos. So it means that all the VAT revenue goes to Lagos. No, that's what we are doing currently, but there's going to be a change or a turnaround. Now, MTN is going to sit down and calculate how much of this value-added tax came from Kano State, how much of this tax that has accrued to our headquarters came from Sokoto State, and then they get to calculate it and remit those value-added tax to those states. So it's going to be broken down. I think maybe an AI technology will be used to determine where those consumption was actually made, and then it's now going to be distributed to those states, not based on where the headquarters of the company is.
Now, Nelson, one of the concerns of some of these northern governors, because they've been actually vociferous against these bills now, one of their basic concerns, has been the issue of VAT, and this 60% that has now been taken to derivation now. So despite the explanations given by the Tax Reform Committee, they're still not, they don't seem to get it.
Well, like we have stated, the controversy is needless because of the fact that these new bills promote equity and justice, in the sense that whatever you consume, whatever be the benefits that will accrue from your consumption, that you should reap that benefit, unlike the former revenue sharing formula. So for a lot of us, the opposition to this new bill by some governors, not only from the north. We also have a government in the southwest. That's the Oyo State government also joining the fray. Well, that one is not unexpected because he is playing politics with regards to his opposition to the new bill. But the fact remains that this is a bill that promotes equity. It's a bill that, you know, serves the interests of the state better. It is for the states to up their ante with regards to the consumption of goods and services, providing the enabling environment. And also, don't forget that this bill also has is also embedded with the mechanism for, you know, for collapsing the several, you know, revenue collection agencies. Yeah. So the opposition from those quarters, I must tell you for free, they cannot be explained logically and rationally, and that is why a lot of us have even taken it upon ourselves, even though we have not been, you know, engaged by the government. We have taken it upon ourselves to look at the bill and educate people who don't know. A lot of people are talking out of ignorance. Some are talking based on sentiments. You ask, what is your grudge with this bill? Somebody just tells you, no, let it be withdrawn. In what basis? A bill that has passed first and second reading according to the legislative process and is supposed to go for public hearing, being mobilized by the committee. So the grudge or the opposition to the bill by those governors, I must tell you for free, is not in the interest of the people of those states. I think there's more to it than meets the eye.
Okay, let's look at the current situation, because something that one of the senators actually raised at plenary earlier in the week and has to do with the issue of the consumption of alcohol. You know, this has always been a subject of controversy. I mean, there had always been this controversy that the northern states are sharing from VAT now accruing from the consumption of alcohol, but that alcohol consumption is banned in the northern states, almost all of the northern states, that, you know, alcohol consumption is bad. So you're not consuming it, but then you're enjoying the VAT that accrues from its consumption elsewhere. And some of the argument of some people, especially from that part, is that some of those who are opposed to this bill now is that, look, it appears this is designed to deny them the benefits of you know, the benefits that would naturally come from the consumption, for instance, of alcohol in other places. So essentially, it's like they are now being punished for not consuming alcohol, and they are being denied what they call their right now to enjoy this VAT that comes from the consumption of alcohol.
All right, thank you. I actually consulted this this postulation, you know, with fellow Muslim brothers. And what came out was that even in the Islam, that if alcohol is haram, they don't take alcohol, that even the money of alcohol, that is also haram. They are not supposed to even partake in money of. It's just like saying you don't take alcohol, but you are selling it to people and you are making money from it and you are happy that you are making money from alcohol is still a sin. So I think for our northern brothers that don't take alcohol, they are ready to part ways with money for alcohol. They are not taking it. They don't want to partake in the revenue from alcohol. So I don't think that should be a very serious controversy, because they have other areas that they can also develop their economy so that they can begin to produce and they begin to generate VAT from their consumption.
Would it be so easy actually to determine consumption? I can understand in the case of MTN, the example you gave, that technology can be used. But when you look at other products, you know, even when you look at consumption of alcohol, for instance, and the consumption of other goods, would it be so easy to deploy technology to determine the amount of consumption in particular locations as to determine what should go to those areas?
Yes, with the deployment of an artificial intelligence, it's very, very possible to detect which state actually consumes what and which state gets what VAT share, you know, with the deployment of an AI, because once these products are sent out to different states, the organization should be able to have record of, you know, account of funds coming in from those states as a result of production of goods or services or distribution of goods or services to that state. So they can actually easily trace where the money is coming from with an AI, so that such that when money is paid into their account, the artificial intelligence can be able to tell them the location of the person that is paying in that fund. So with the deployment of technology, it will actually work out.
But the
It's
problem is, do
workable
we
and
even
possible.
have that technology in place as we speak?
Oh yes, it doesn't take anything to develop that AI. It doesn't take anything. Just the same way we have developed our Tax Pro Max that is locally based, we can also do that. To deploy such artificial intelligence would not take us more than 1 month maximum.
Nelson, what's your take on this?
Well, my take on it is that I'm disappointed that the focus has been on alcohol, because you want to ask, is alcohol the only commodity or the only product from which, we generate VAT? Absolutely not. There are 1,001 products and services that we generate VAT from. You talk about, making calls, internet services and what have you. You talk about, even bottled drinks. You talk about water and what have you. So for me, I think the focus rather should be on the fact that, look, if you believe according to your religion that something is haram, I don't see any reason why you want to benefit from the proceeds. And moreover, are we even sure, or do we even have the statistics to prove that we consume more alcohol in the southern part of the country than in the north?
The north.
We don't have that fact before us. So why are we disturbing ourselves over where we want to benefit from the proceeds of alcohol? So for me, I think,
and indeed, because alcohol is still consumed in the north.
It's still consumed in the north. We know how our people in the north consume alcohol. Some of us have stayed in the north, and we know the practice. We consume alcohol secretly in the north. So we don't have the fact to substantiate that we consume more alcohol in the southern part of the country than in the north. So if the north consumes it alcohol, or the north with this new revenue formula opens its door, to the consumption of alcohol, or they even regulate it, they'll be able to enjoy the proceeds of whatever they consume. Because the whole essence of this bill is to put in place a system of equity such that people should be able to reap the reward of what they consume. Like when you buy products in some locations, they'll tell you buy one, get one free. So that's the same thing that is happening to this bill, that if you are consuming a product, then whatever be the tax or accruing from that product, should be domiciled for the people of that location. So I see no reason why we should continue to put our focus on alcohol. After all, again, we can ask, what is the contribution of alcohol to the VAT pool? Is it the major contributor? So these are questions we need to interrogate as we go forward with this debate and discussions.
Akin, why do you think, especially the northern governors, why do you think there seem to be that misunderstanding that they're just still insisting that their position is right? For instance, we saw Governor Zulum of Borno State come out very forcefully recently to say, look, insisting that the bill has to be withdrawn, and that if the bill is passed the way it is, that Lagos will benefit, that it's only Lagos that will benefit.
Yeah, yesterday I listened to a politician in the National Assembly from the North, and he actually spelled out the reason why the North are still agitating for the withdrawal. And he spelled it out that there is actually a misconception in the whole thing, that the North are spreading the rumor that that this value-added tax is going to tax inheritance. And it is there's nothing like that in the bill. But I think the news and the rumor are spread through the North that this new tax reforms bill is going to be taxing inheritance, which is against the Islamic law, that inheritance is not supposed to be taxed. So the politician was suggesting that if they can put it in the bill that this value-added tax is not going to tax inheritance, so that it's going to be clear. It's going to be clear, because they are claiming that there are some hidden clauses in the law that is against the religion in the North, especially the Islamic religion. So, and by the way, there is nothing like that. So we need to continue to educate people, orient them that there is nothing of such. That this bill is not meant to tax inheritance. It's not meant to tax low income earners. It's not going to tax the poor, but it's going to tax production. It's going to tax economic activities, profits of people. That's what it's going to tax. So that's why they have that misconception.
And talking about economic activities now, how will this reform now, how will it stimulate economic activities in the various states? Because we know, proponents of the bills have said, look, that is one thing it will do for all the states of this country.
Yeah, as we are bringing equity now into the system, in the sharing formula by saying, okay, the states that based on derivative, as you consume and VAT is generated or collected, we are going to give a percentage of that to that state. I think this will encourage production. This will encourage people to be, conscious of economic activities, generate economic activities, attract investors. Because the more the investors, the more the business activities in your state, the more the revenue that you will get. So I think the president is trying to shift us away from the feeding bottle government system, that everybody just goes to the center and share equally based on the revenue that's gotten. So this will promote economic activities. It will make the states to wake up and look inwards as to what they can actually, produce. It answers the question of what to produce in economics. So the states will go back and look in and say, what can we produce that will generate us VAT, such that the derivation will come to our state. So it's a wake-up call to the states, and I think this will also help to boost our GDP at large. The GDP of the country will also increase, and this will also help to strengthen the Naira. So a lot of hidden benefits to this reform bill.
Nelson, how important is it that, the Senate has decided to do more consultation on this and, listen to various stakeholders and all of that? Because at the end of the day, it's still up to the Senate, the National Assembly now, to amend, if there's any need to amend and work on this bill, come up with something that will be agreeable and acceptable to everyone.
Well, I think we must commend the Senate for the laudable step of, deepening our democracy through this consultation and public hearing that they want to embark on. It's in tune with the legislative process. And if the Senate has deemed it fit that, look, because of the misconceptions, because of the misinformation, because of the mischief against a well-intended bill for the good of the mass of the Nigerian people, that we should have more consultation. I think the Senate is on the right track. And majorly, I think the government needs to up the ante with regards to information dissemination, particularly
education
in the northern part of the country. Because I listened to Senator Aminu Tambuwa, and I heard him say that the bill is meant to increase VAT and inflict more hardship on the people. And I was like, where did Senator Aminu Tambuwa get this information from? He should point out where in the bill that is embedded. And also, you listen to Professor Babagana Zulu, as well as Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, when they were arguing against the bill. They never came up with any tangible, reason highlighting why they disagree. All they kept on hammering on was the bill should be withdrawn. And like, we are in a civilized world. You have members of the National Assembly representing your state. You have senators, you have House of Reps members. If you have any disagreement with the bill, what you need to do is to study the bill, come up with your own alternative position to whichever provision or section of the bill you disagree with, and you argue it in the National Assembly. You make your colleagues to see reason with you, even at the consultative meeting,
yes, the public
hearing meeting. You advance your argument. That is how it is done in a democratic society. Not this resort to...
And I'm sure governors can actually take part in the public hearing.
Absolutely, absolutely. They are Nigerian citizens first and foremost. So they also have a right to bring... For example, this bill now is the product of the Federal Executive Council, headed by Mr. President. So nothing stops a state executive council, headed by a governor, from coming up with their own position on this bill. In that way, we have an informed citizenry, would have deepened the discourse, which is the only thing that can drive us as a people forward.
And finally, Akin, apart from this issue of VAT, what aspect of the bill, or these bills now, would you say you also really like?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. DEJI. When Mr. President came in May 29, 2023, he made a promise on that day. He said he was going to, reduce multiple taxes or even extinct multiple taxes at all levels. Now, this bill is the dream come true to Mr. President's promise. This bill is going to reform the system in such a way that all those multiplicity of taxes we have, about 52 of them, is going to be reduced to a single digit number. This bill will help to do that. This bill is also going to empower, is going to take more, allocation to the states, just as you see as you saw on the slide that was displayed earlier. So the states will also have more funds, despite that the personal income tax payee that they usually get is going to be reduced because to, I think, a threshold of about 1 million or thereabouts will be exempted from paying payee. And we know a lot of Nigerians fall below that threshold. So a lot of good things. At least we've been clamoring that these multiple taxes is actually driving away investors from our country. You'll see somebody taxing at the federal, the state again will tax the same income. The local government will still come and give you their own, tax. So this bill will help to harmonize tax collection, and that's why FIRS will be an organization that is collecting tax for the whole nation, not just the federal government, as the way it is now. So is a bill that should be applauded. Is a bill I believe that investors will actually appreciate, and they will be happy, and the investors will come in to invest into the country.
And also very important, when you talk about small businesses, I mean, the bill is quite supportive of small businesses. I mean, I run a small business, and I know what it means. So if the bill is now saying that, look, for small businesses that, that their revenue is not more than 50 million. I mean, not more than 50 million. They should be exempt from withholding tax and other taxes. Then it's a very fantastic idea, because
it means small businesses will breathe.
Yeah, because I mean, when you look at it, small businesses actually these taxes sometimes actually kill small businesses in this country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Nelson, your final word on this.
My final word is that I encourage all Nigerians to let us embrace this bill. Whatever misconceptions we have around the bill, we should seek clarification. And when the public hearing commences, I implore all of us to be there to give our own opinion, to support the bill, because the bill is about the people, is about small businesses, is about equity. And I'm sure at the end of the day, the Nigerian people will be victorious with this bill. All
right, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Dr. Akin Ogunshola, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for coming on the program. Thanks for sharing your insights with us. Nelson Akujimi, thank you also for coming on the program.
Thank you,
and thanks for your time. All right, we'll take a short break now. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
When you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.